This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome to The Edge, Trek FM's podcast dedicated to the newest Star Trek series, Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Brandon-Shea Mutala, and joining me are the evil, twisted, dark mirror versions of Patrick Devlin. How are you doing, Patrick?
I'm good. I got the goatee going because I wanted to be like Spock.
Excellent, right on. You are like Spock in every way except for every way that you are not.
Yes,
Excellent.
Like logic.
And also joining us for the first time in this universe is the wonderfully evil, the wonderfully malicious, the wonderfully brutal Richard the Slayer Marquez.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing just darn peachy.
Would you like to go into my booth?
No.
There's a lot of giggling in this mirror universe.
Yes, it's evil cackling. It's not giggling. It's evil.
Well, if I did my evil voice, I mean, no, we couldn't do that. No. Yeah.
Richard's evil voice is like, I'm Richard and I'm evil.
You make it sound like I'm like the Wicked Witch of the West or something like that.
Drop a house on him.
Yeah. Great. As long as I don't have those socks.
Excellent, right on. Well, we are not here to talk about The Wizard of Oz. We are not here to listen to Richard's evil voice as interpreted by me. We are here to talk about what's Past Is Prologue, which is the latest episode of our wonderful new series, Star Trek Discovery. I'm going to ask you guys right off the bat, initial thoughts. Richard, what'd you think of the episode?
Holy cow. It's a very good episode. I absolutely love this episode. Probably because there's a lot of, combat action and just plotting it all together, and it's just wow. This is by far one of my favorites. This episode is.
Patrick, what did you think?
I'm basically right on par with Richard. I think it was great. I think that they were able to put in the gunfights and stuff, but they were also able to give you a bunch of story. It wasn't one or the other. They didn't really lose anything by doing one or the other.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good right off the bat. I think this is a pretty action-packed and exciting episode, and I definitely had a lot of fun while I was watching it. There's a couple of times when I did that puppy dog tilted my head and went, huh? But it was really, really, really good, I think. So the first thing that I want to start out with, though, is something that kind of confused me, and I wanted to get your guys' impression on it. So in the last episode, the last thing we saw was Burnham and Georgiou talking, them realizing that Lorca's from the Mirror Universe, and then we cut to Lorca killing that guy with the electric defibrillators and whatnot. And the next time we see Burnham in this episode, Georgiou's like all frustrated and angry with her and sends her to the brig. Now, I'm like, that's pretty quick for her to turn around and be having this nice conversation with her, and then to be sending her to the brig because she's angry with her right away. What did you take that meant? Like, why did she suddenly decide to send Burnham to the brig? Patrick, what do you think?
Well, I was actually confused too. It didn't really make sense, but then I kind of thought about it a little bit, and she was really worried that she would convince her not to bring Discovery over, right? Wasn't that like the argument they were having when she sent her to the brig, that she was going to tell Discovery to stop, or there was some argument on how to get Lorca to begin with.
She was saying that I need to contact my ship again, and then Georgiou's like, no, go to the brig.
Right. So I think she thought that she could get Discovery for herself and take back her throne.
Okay.
Like use it as
Richard?
like a pawn or something like that. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like she was already in turmoil within her own head, saying, "Oh, well, should I trust her or should I not? Or is this the Michael Burnham of the mirror or of our universe, meaning the Emperor's, and that is she actually trying to still play me like Lorca did, even though she found him out, but not Michael." So yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. That she was going to use the Discovery as well. Obviously, she really wanted it because of the spore drive. She really wanted the schematics of the engine. So, but like, yeah, I thought it was like it was a play all together, and it just turned out, for the best for the Emperor.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that scene myself. I'm not quite sure what the intention was behind it. It just seemed sudden. The sudden turn for the Emperor that just didn't seem with what we'd seen for the past episode. I was a little bit confused on that one, and I wanted to get your guys' take on that. Maybe the listeners can let us know why they think Georgiou suddenly turned so quickly, because they had been having a pleasant conversation. She was reminiscing that she was Michael Burnham, even though she wasn't. And then all of a sudden she's like, go to the brig.
Well, was it a pleasant conversation? I mean, she did put a dagger to her throat. Well,
she was going to kill her, and then she confessed to being from the mirror universe. And I'm trying to remember last week's episode a bit more here. She confessed, from the Prime universe. Mm-hmm. And then Georgiou killed all those people, and they were talking again later on. And when she opened the window and flinched because it was so bright, they seemed to be having an amicable conversation at that time, right? So
and Burnham outed Lorca, so you'd think that would give her some trust. It did seem very weird, and actually you brought it up to me earlier, and that's the reason why I thought about it more and came up with that whole other idea, because I like you, I was very confused as to why she would snap. But
because she did out Lorca. She's like, wait a minute, Lorca's from your universe. He's really the same guy. Oh, and then go to the brig. So.
Right, yeah, it's really weird.
Maybe that's the lounge or something like that. I mean, it is the evil world sort of thing. Mirror universe. Maybe that's a whole different definition for it. I don't know.
Well, it could be. It's the backwards. You help me, go to the brig.
It's a compliment. Didn't you know?
Yeah, we love you. Go to the brig. But over there, the brig is like the full body massage, right? You get the Davo girls
it's
there.
The face stretcher from Insurrection.
Oh, dear.
And water with little cut up lemons in it.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, and cucumbers.
Cucumbers, yeah, there you go.
In the mirror universe is cucumbers, because that's just gross. Cucumbers and water? What's going on with that? Anywho, so we had a lot going on in this mirror universe ship here, the Charon. And one of the first things that happen is they go and they look for Stamets, mirror Stamets. Lorca goes to look for mirror Stamets with I can't remember her name, the Landry, with Landry, who we'd seen before. And I got to say, Landry hasn't changed from universe to universe. She's like identical. Mm-hmm. Richard, what do you think about that?
I totally agree. Yeah, definitely. She seems very dark before she dies, obviously. And then, of course, this time around, she seems basically the same role. I mean, in a sense that, she has the same role. I guess you have to kind of be that way. We really don't see the personal side of her, except for, when she's on duty is really, I mean, what the most we see of her personality is the snide remarks, from the first or the third episode or so. That was the first time we saw her, right?
Third and fourth, yeah.
Third and fourth.
Third and fourth.
So really, we don't know much about her, but I mean, I guess it might be the job, maybe.
Yeah, tone-wise, I think she's basically the same person. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, it seems like they just told her, go out there and do it again. Be you and do it again. You'll be perfect. It'll fit in. We're not going to change anything here. But didn't they try and kind of make our Burnham seem to be a lot like that version's Burnham too? Like the way they were talking about her. Georgiou at the end was kind of like, well, you're kind of the same person.
Yeah, I could have almost thought you were her or something like that. She
right,
said.
like so it seems like it's not as cut and dry as we've been led to believe in other iterations of the mirror universe.
Well, the thing about the mirror universe that you find out, especially in D Space Nine, right? If we go to the D Space Nine era of the mirror universe, is the only real difference is humans.
Right.
You know, like, okay, the Bajorans are a little bit different as well, but I mean, the Klingons are basically the Klingons. When you get into the Deep Space Nine era, there's really no difference. The Cardassians are basically the Cardassians when you get over there, right? You know, the only real difference, it seems to be, is the human beings, and that's the only difference in personality. So it's not that it's a mirror universe for everybody, and it's an opposite of everybody. It's basically just humanity that's different. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I really don't. Could you imagine Cardassians being nice?
No, I can't. Because when Garrick's nice, you know, he's got the knife like ready, you know, to go into a rib.
Yeah, it's really, I think, even more basic than that. It's really the power dynamic of the humans, you know, because maybe in the Prime universe, had we seen them take over the way they did, that it would have gotten the same way, you know. And the Klingons, who are portrayed slightly more violently in Prime universe than they are in Mirror universe, would have had to take the role of putting everyone together for the honor and for their empire and whatnot. So, you know, it's really the power struggle is all that really flipped.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Spock in Mirror Mirror, he's basically Spock. He's functioning within the rules that have been placed on the ISS Enterprise, but he's basically just Spock.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He applies logic. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's got to use the agonizer on Kyle because, you know, Kyle's a terrible transporter operator, right? And that's how you punish them in that universe. But I mean, in a nutshell, he's basically just Spock. He's not like, you know, angry and trying to kill people. He's trying to function within that command to the best of his abilities. So I don't know. Just that's one thing that I've noticed about the mirror universe is everybody thinks everybody's different and they're not, and everybody thinks everybody has a beard, but it's only Vulcans that have beards. So,
yes.
Anywho.
And me.
So Landry's basically the same person. But they get Stamets, and you know, I was thinking that Stamets was going to have been working directly with Lorca, but here, you know, he's afraid of Lorca. He was hoping Lorca was dead. You know, so he obviously has something that he's been working on, right? They're using this mycelium network for this ship's power source, right? And he's also been, I got the impression that bioweapon where those people were foaming at the mouth was also an invention of Stamets's as well, right? So he's working for the Emperor. He's developing these technologies for her to use. And, you know, he sold out Lorca and he sold out his team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's another good show of, like, he didn't really change universe to universe. He's just obsessed with his job. Mm-hmm. You know, even Lorca says that. He goes, oh, if I had known anything about Stamets, it's that he loves his job. And it was kind of cool how he hid behind like a hologram. That was kind of a cool little scene.
Yeah, but, Cloverfield or something.
But really, I mean, he's just obsessed with getting the mycelium network and then using it for his own advantage, which is really what our Stamets is doing this whole time too, right? He's just trying to do it in a way that doesn't destroy them.
That we know of.
Right.
I mean, because to make a conclusion like that especially for either one of them, we're missing a lot of information. But like, because like I guess knowing we need to know what kind of like work he used to do. I mean, he very well like Brandon was saying, like he very well could have, that biological weapon could have been his handiwork and whatnot. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's I mean,
you know.
Yeah.
I agree. I just think that, again, it's more like working within the system you're in. That system is more violent, so his work would naturally be more violent, and therefore, but he still throws himself into his work and only cares about his work, just like our Stamets.
Like a core like characteristic.
The personality, right,
yeah,
is the same. It's they're both workaholics, and they're both obsessed with their science.
It's just a different way of going about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because the interesting thing is in last episode there, you know, the version of Culber that we saw in Stamets' mind was like, you know, he's using this network and Mirror Stamets is the reason why this thing is dying. And I mean, like, seeing him in this episode, he seems a lot more like our Stamets than you'd think he would be. And I don't know, I didn't get any impression that that he was like trying to use this for malicious activity. I think he was just trying to develop this network. At least that's the impression that I got from it. Maybe I'm misunderstanding or I missed something. But when Saru was talking about it, they're like, well, how could they be using this technology? It's not self-sustaining. They have to know that. Based on what I saw out of Stamets there, he didn't seem to be a malicious character for Mirror Stamets.
Yeah, it's kind of fuzzy. Does he know it's not self-sustaining, or does he not know? And that would change greatly, your opinion of the character. If he knew it's going to destroy it, I mean, that doesn't make sense because he knows he's destroying himself then, right?
Well, he did create is it the Charon? The Charis?
Charon.
There you go. He did create the power source for the ship, didn't he? I mean, basically,
Right,
that's
yes.
ultimately what's poisoning the network.
Right, but when he invented that, did he know that?
Probably not, but
because
his ethics are probably a lot less than what the Prime universe on ethics
Probably.
are. I'm sure they would. I'm sure he was like, "Screw it, we're gonna use this as a power source."
Yeah, no, I mean that's probably very true. But again, it goes back to the wherever the two break apart, right, and wherever everything changes from mirror universe to regular universe to Prime universe, the ethics change. So everyone's ethics would have to change along with it.
Not entirely.
So he's not working under the same ethics to be the ethical conundrums in the first place.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, while they were talking there, and Lorca was giving the story of how he got to our universe. So he was being chased by the Charon. And, I mean, I was under the impression that she destroyed the ship and the crew. That Emperor Georgiou destroyed the ship and the crew. But that's not the case. She took the crew and put them all in the agonizer booths, and they tried to beam Lorca over, but that ion storm sent him over to our universe. Okay, so that's a big question that I've had, is how did Lorca get over to our universe? Now, this is similar to the type of accident that happened in Mirror Mirror, right, where the Enterprise was orbiting, I think it was called Halcyon, the planet that they were orbiting, and there was an ion storm on the planet, and when they beamed up, they switched places with their counterparts in Mirror Mirror. Now, I kind of got the impression that may have happened, but I mean, the other end of that is if the two Lorcas switched, that Lorca's dead anyways, right? Because the Charon, the Charon has now blown up. But I mean, I also don't get that impression because, it was never said, let's say that happened, and let's say they switched. Emperor Georgiou never gave any indication in these episodes, like, what do you mean you've got Lorca? I've got Lorca, right? Because that other Lorca may not have figured out that he was in a mirror universe because they didn't know of it at the time. So if they just simply switch them out beaming, and Prime Lorca is all of a sudden a prisoner of Emperor Georgiou, he's not going to know. He's just going to simply be answering your questions. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And Georgiou, when she was presented with Mirror Lorca as a gift from Burnham, she's not like, I already have a Lorca in my prison over here. I don't know if my logic is making any sense here. Are you guys following along with what I'm saying?
No, I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why Landry said, I thought you were dead. They actually did kill the other Lorca in another agonizer, or for some other reason he's pleading for his life and saying, I'm not who you say who you say I am, and they actually did kill him.
But surely Georgiou would have said something like, what do you mean you have another Lorca?
That's true.
Right,
that's true.
she just ignores the fact that she had one.
Yeah, so I don't know that other Lorca swapped.
But then again, he would have mentioned that since she already knew about the Federation, he would have said something like that to her, and she would have at least, well, I don't know.
And then she would have clued in and said the Federation of Planets, but then she was surprised when Burnham said, I'm from the Federation, and here's this. And she's like, oh, I already know about this. I got to kill all these people so I can talk to you about it. I don't know. I'm just having a tough time following the follow through on that. That's all.
Yeah. The other part of it too wasn't the story originally that Burnham blew up his ship chasing him?
No. The Mirror Burnham, the story is Lorca killed Mirror Burnham.
Right.
And
okay.
then
Yes. And then he got
Emperor
away.
Georgiou came after him and destroyed his ship. That's what we've been told.
Right.
until
Okay.
now.
That's what I got confused about.
But
okay.
now I'm questioning that logic too, because if Mirror Lorca was sleeping around with Mirror Burnham, then why would he be killing her?
Right. And where is Mirror Burnham now?
Right. So I don't know if he did kill her, but now are we going to see her now that we're out of the Mirror Universe? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of open-ended questions here that are going to be answered in season 4.
I'm getting a multiverse headache.
and Lorca's ship in the Prime Universe was destroyed, right?
Yes, but we don't entirely know how. The Klingons were attacking it, and Harry Mudd talked about it and questioned, well, why was Lorca the only one to survive? And they said, well, he sacrificed his crew so that the Klingons wouldn't take them as prisoners. Well, now I believe that story is false, right? But we still don't really know what happened.
Maybe, or Mirror Lorca did sacrifice his whole crew, not caring.
Now that I'm looking back on that scene, I get the impression that he didn't know when he made up that story on the fly, because he's done a lot of making up the stories on the fly, right? So I got the impression that that scene with Harry Mudd is on the fly. Now I haven't watched it since the reveal, so I can't be 100% certain about that, but I get the impression that he just made it up.
Yeah, I don't know. The stories are still all very confusing.
And we may not get answers to them. I mean, with the Charon being destroyed and them being back in our universe, yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So,
Or maybe they just didn't even think of that and just left it open-ended.
which they could be too.
Yeah.
They could pick it up later on, right? Mirror Vedic Boreal came back from season 6 of DS9, so...
Yeah, and maybe we end up with a Prime Lorca somewhere down the line who shows up out of nowhere.
Well, I tweeted Dayton Ward, and he gave a vague answer. I'm like, I asked him, when you wrote your book, because his next book takes place 10 years prior to this, and it's a Captain Lorca, Captain Georgiou storyline on Tarsus 4, which is where Kirk was when he was a boy, and Governor Qo'noS killed half the population of the planet, which is also where Hoshi Sato died, during that event. It's on screen. But I asked him, did you know that it was Mirror Lorca when you were writing that book? Like, what did you know? And he's like, what do I know? So,
Yeah.
I just left it. So maybe there's a plot that he can't reveal that's going to be revealed in that book. I don't know. But okay, so let's talk about some of these intense battles. Richard, military man, you loved it.
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Oh man, I was like, what? It's like, so when the whole scene when the Empress is like out in the open, I'm like, what is she doing? I was like, you're gonna get blasted, and you're gonna be the one in the middle. I mean, come on. But that was just great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The force field and also the automatic guns are great. I love all the combat that happened in this. It's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, even Patrick's a military man. What? Come on. I mean, chime in here, Patrick. What's up?
So the first thing I noticed was after the guns popped and they started shooting down Lorca's men, Lorca ducked behind the pillar.
Uh-huh.
What I liked, he actually was using good hand signals. You always see these really terrible hand signals in TV, like guys pointing to their eyes and stuff, and like just over and over again, and everyone knows where everyone is for some reason.
Straight to his
But he
tactical
actually
officer.
pointed out,
Yeah.
but he actually pointed out, two guns, and then kind of gave hand signals that would approximate where they were and stuff, and then they shot the guns down. But then, like you said, she's standing there in the middle open, and I'm like, come on, this is just too. Oh, there's a force field.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we didn't know it until they shot at her. It's not like it went up in any of that scene or anything like that.
No, it was just there.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I liked that because she was talking through the force field, and then the shooting starts, and then they hit the force field, and you're like, oh, that's been there the whole time. Ingenious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's red.
Yeah, everything.
it's a mirror.
Everything was red.
That's
Everyone's
right.
a
I
bad
like it
Jedi.
too.
Yeah, everyone's a dark Jedi.
So we get to the close hand-to-hand battle here, and I got to say,
That was
so
good.
I kind of chuckled at something here, and I can't remember what it was, but there's a movie like the way that Georgiou was like kicking up her leg and stuff, like Lorca had her in like a chokehold or whatever, and she like kicked her leg up really high and like kicked him behind her. And I'm sure there's a movie where it's like the guy like puts up one leg and then like another leg goes up and then just out of nowhere a third leg comes up and it's like it's some kind of comedy movie. I don't know if you guys know what movie this is. I can't remember what I'm thinking of.
I'm thinking of a TV show, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like I don't
know. That's just what I thought when that leg just whipped up. I'm just like picturing like legs flying everywhere. And I pictured Chun-Li from Street Fighter 2, right? So with that lightning kick that she did, and I don't know. That's just what I thought. But it's Street Fighter 2 Georgiou, I guess. I don't know. But other than that, I mean, like the scene was because she kicked that knife out of the air. Like he threw a knife at her. And she kicked it out of the air, like,
which is awesome.
What if she missed?
Crazy. What if she missed?
They should have had it done a real quick 360.
Yeah, but I don't think it would actually even. Yeah. All right, I'll give it to him.
Give him what?
I was gonna say, it was like like it didn't even look like it was gonna hit her. Like it was gonna go to her right or her left or something like that. Because I was like thinking, how the heck did she like see that? I mean, like it's like the room's dark, freaking the knife is small enough as is, and you're trying to kick a small object that's probably coming at you pretty fast. And it's like I don't know, but no, regardless, I'm not like slicing and dicing the scene. It was still really cool. I absolutely loved the whole hand-to-hand combat because it was just holy cow. It was like, yeah, it was just awesome. It was simply just awesome. Yeah.
No, the fight scenes in this episode, are the quality you'd see in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're high end fight scenes.
Yeah.
And kicking the thing out of the air, I don't care how not possible that is. It's perfectly okay for me. But even the darkness wouldn't matter to them because remember, Terrans actually pick up more light than we do, so that's why they're sensitive to it, I would assume. So she would actually have a better chance of seeing the knife than, like, say, you or I would.
Well, they don't say that they can see better in the dark. They just say they're sensitive to light.
Yeah.
So. I have headcanon.
Oh, dear gosh.
Anywho, yeah, no, that was definitely a really intense scene. Like they were going all out on both of those battle sequences. Like one interesting thing that I found with the gun battle was there was no score. There was no music going on during the gun battle. And it was really interesting because it just made it feel like this procedural scene where they're like, okay, there wasn't tense. They're just like, we've got everything under control. First thing we got to do is get this force field down, and that's it. And it gave it a really interesting flavor to not have music during that scene. So, I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought so. I am glad you said that because I actually saw that, or I heard that too. That it's just you focus just on what's going on in front of you, like what actions are going on versus the music where you already know that it's pretty intense as is, and she's out there in the middle of the open, and basically both sides are out in the middle of the open, and you know that it's tense for that scene already. So yeah, I totally agree, but it worked perfectly. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
There was some great music, but that scene not having it was really an interesting choice.
The one little weird thing about the scene was like the two guns, the two turrets, the two small, they really look like video cameras, but they shoot everyone and then everyone kind of just stands up and fights again. Like it didn't look like Lorca lost any men in the fight to begin with.
It was like 2 or 3, wasn't it?
He had basically like the same numbers going at it. But I loved the special effects when Lorca's people hit somebody. Mm-hmm. The way they just disintegrated. Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah.
Well, his people were doing that too. Like when those gun turrets were hitting his people.
Like what was it? There was like is there a difference between a phase pistol and a rifle? Because obviously we saw Michael. Was it Michael or was it the Empress that shot that guy in the head in the final scenes? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, but there's no stun setting here, so
no, I know that, but like it's like it looked like a round that just went right through him. Versus like vaporizing him.
Yeah, like it didn't encompass.
They did that with Takuvma when he got shot as well. It like glowed for a second, right? So I think that's what happened. She shot him in the head, and it just was like I don't know.
Well, it went out the other
phaser.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It went through.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it was the same kind of wound that happened to Takuvma
Yeah.
back in episode 2.
Yeah.
Way back.
Fair.
So, excellent. Right on. Anything else you want to talk about on the Charon? I'm trying to pronounce it right. The Charon before we move back over to the Discovery.
The only thing is, I really like the scene where they. I know it's gonna sound horrible. I like the scene where they killed Stamets, though. He's like, oh, very poetic that you should die by your own creation. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't like poetry, and then he gets shot in the back. like you can almost see like Stamets like, oh, I'm gonna get to live. No, you're not. You're just not, man. You're still going.
You knew you're gonna.
He's just
die.
not gonna wait for you to fall.
Yeah.
Like,
what's great about that scene is that something that when you watch movies, you're always like, kill the guy.
Yeah.
Just he's gonna stab you in the back. Just kill him, and they never do.
Be like in Jurassic Park.
And
Shoot him.
Yes. So he finally does kill him, and it's like, okay, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I like the fact that he's like, I'm just kidding. Shoot him.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked about this show that that chair looks like the World Series trophy?
Which chair?
Oh, it really does. I didn't. Wow. You're
It
terrible. Now I can never see that thing again without thinking World Series trophy.
The Empress's I
It
guess
just needs a little
throne
flag.
chair. Yeah, it just needs flag, but it looks like the World Series trophy.
Yes, it does.
Like
it
the
looks like
round
they were
thing?
trying to make a futuristic Game of Thrones
Yeah, like
chair.
flags. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's got instead of flags, it's got the poles instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the World Series trophy, Brendan, is thinner poles,
Yeah.
but it looks like little pennants on it all the way. But it's basically the exact same heights.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
I mean,
just
it
shrunk down to hold.
Yeah, it just lower all the way up and it gets higher until the back. But yeah, that was like looking at it, I'm like, that's the World Series trophy. I was like, what?
I know what you're talking about. I love hockey.
Oh,
So do we.
gosh.
Just kidding. I know you mean baseball. I'm just kidding. So, okay. Well, I guess before we go, Lorca's dead. So this Lorca that we've been around for the past 10 episodes or whatever is dead. And he got killed by He-Man's sword. Like, did that not look like He-Man's sword?
Yeah, it really
When he
did.
picked that thing up, I wanted him to shout out, "By the power of Grayskull!"
Now, are you talking
I was
about the
actually
Masters of
thinking
the Universe
Thundercats.
sword? Or are you talking about the TV show, the cartoon version?
The cartoon one.
Yeah.
I was
The
thinking
only real one.
Thundercats.
That Dolph Lundgren stuff, that's just trash.
Yeah,
Masters of the Universe
Doesn't
was
count.
awesome.
doesn't count.
Although the bad guys that played Skeletor was the Bajoran guy on the Circle trilogy from season 2 of Deep Space Nine.
And now we bring it all back to Star
There
Trek.
you go. See, there you go. Done. We're good.
The cartoon is all though. I don't know. I wanted to do
By
a
the
meme that said
power
that
of-
had him with that sword saying "By the power of Grayskull."
I was about to say
Anyways.
Captain Planet in my head, but that's the wrong. That's
No,
the wrong cartoon.
Thundercats. He should have held it in front of his face. It grew around his eyes. big cat eye tiger logo.
Watch
shows
out!
up in
Watch
the
out there,
sky.
Thundera.
Thundercats. Oh.
We're talking too much cartoon. Somebody speed dial Aaron. Anyways, yeah, I can't. I'm surprised that he's dead. Like I am, and I'm not. Like I had said a while ago, I'm like, I think he's gonna die. I don't think he's gonna be around. And based on what we've seen, I'm not expecting to see Prime Lorca. I'm really not. I think Prime Lorca is dead as well. I think Lorca's gone. We're not gonna see him anymore. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I'll just disagree because I threw it out earlier. So no, maybe he comes back as Prime, but I think you're right. I think he's gone. I think we're not going to see him anymore. I did think he was going to last till at least the second season before
Yeah,
he died, but they really they wrote it into a position where he had to go now, right? Like you really couldn't move the story forward without killing him,
right,
or killing somebody.
right. Yeah, totally. I mean, you definitely had to kill him off. I mean, especially with that that kind of story. Yeah, you had to at least kill him off. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to go. Georgiou someone had to die in order to get to the next step. Otherwise, you're in a stalemate.
okay, well, let's move over to the Discovery for now. Lots happen over here as well. So Saru, greatest captain ever. I totally think so. Patrick, what do you think of Saru?
I did not like him when the show started. I'm really starting to like him. But he had one line that was like, wow, that's terrible. When he basically said that how come he didn't sense that Lorca was evil?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question that lots of fans would have had, though, and I had myself. So if how could Saru not have sensed malicious intent?
Right, and it's driving me. I'm so mad at him because it's driving me insane trying to figure out why.
Right.
Yeah, but you've not thought of that before?
Not really. I didn't think through that because I don't,
Because, like I have too. Like, I'm not trying to say anything by that. I'm just like, yeah, lots of people have thought that. I mean, if Saru, I don't like that line, I sense the coming of death. I don't like that line. And I didn't like how it was used in this episode myself either. It seemed cheesy to me, right?
Right.
You know that I sense the coming of death. Well, I don't sense it today. Right. But, why didn't he sense malicious intent from Lorca? If he can sense that the shuttle left without Burnham while he's drinking a cup of tea, how can he not have sensed something from Lorca?
But didn't But didn't he say that Lorca leaves him in the dark a lot? Doesn't tell him his intention. Maybe he just got used to him being the way he is. I mean, I
don't know.
I think he's.
I mean, I agree. I agree that there should have been. They should have thought of something like that. I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, like, that's what I remember from one of the previous episodes, that Lorca keeps him in the shadow
keeps his
a lot.
Own cancel.
It keeps his own cancel. Thank you.
But people walk by and he senses it.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like,
spoken to, or.
But I'm just saying, like, he turned it off. Like, he can. I mean, obviously, there's that natural ability to sense it. But then maybe if he did sense it, that he always sensed it around Lorca, and he just ignored it, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Maybe it sounds like the way he says it, he just didn't sense it.
I don't know. To me, it's like
I try not to say
this dude is always shady, but I'm just gonna ignore it. I don't know.
Well, he's only the captain of the ship.
What I really want to say is that it was a write-off. That's what I really want to say, but I'm trying to go around that.
Fair enough. We'll let it slide.
This captain is shady AF, but you know what? I'm just not going to worry.
It's cool. It's because he's got a job to do, so we're all right with that.
He's the captain. What do I know?
See, now, I don't mind I sense the coming of death line, and I really didn't mind it in this episode because I felt like, this is just like I didn't even really in the beginning believe he believed it. He just said it because then everyone would believe him.
It's like Vulcans don't lie.
Correct. Like he might not have felt. He might have sensed death, but he can't tell them that because then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
He can't sense Lorca. He can sense Burnham when she's like not on the shuttle.
Right.
But he can't sense Ash Tyler until he walks onto the bridge. I don't know. There's no consistency to what he can sense and what he can't sense.
Well,
there's no consistency whatsoever.
I ignored the Ash Tyler one because Ash Tyler didn't know he had Volk inside him at first, right?
Right, but when he doesn't sense him until he walks onto the bridge, but he can sense that Burnham didn't get on the shuttle when he's drinking tea. So I don't know. But okay, we're gonna just drop that topic now because it's just inconsistent. Okay, Saru is still my favorite character up there with Tilly.
Really, he's your favorite character?
I love Saru. I've loved him since the beginning. That scene when he's chewing Burnham out back in episode 5 or whatever it was. I think that he's showing great command ability in that time, and I defended his actions on the podcast.
When he basically blamed her for the war, it drove me insane because, like, dude, you were there. Mm-hmm. You know what happened. You know that what people are saying isn't actually factually true, yet you still believe it.
Right. Because of what happened with Georgiou. So.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about this mycelium network here. Did we realize that the stakes were this high? Because I didn't realize the stakes were this high that life as we know it will cease to exist everywhere if this network dies. I didn't quite catch that, and that was kind of a surprising revelation to me. Richard?
I agree. I didn't realize how important it was. I guess I mean I guess it makes sense. I mean I guess if you want to connect them all the multiverses together, like some kind of spider web or like web of life or something like that, I guess that makes sense. I mean you wouldn't be able to travel between the multiverses, so yeah, I guess so. But yeah, it caught me by surprise too.
Yeah, I didn't get it at all. I still don't really get it. Like, okay, so I get that we wouldn't be able to travel multiverses, and stuff if this died out. But the fact that all the multiverses just blink out of existence seems like a stretch.
No, but like what I was thinking is that maybe the universes don't actually like die out completely. Maybe they're like woven together and they're like galaxies. One goes its separate way, another one goes to another way, and they'll never come back to each other again. Sort of like thing. Sort of like you're trapped within that own universe. I don't know. That's what I was just thinking.
See, that's how I thought it would be. But then the way they explained it in this episode, and maybe I'm wrong, it seems like they just said, well, if the mycelium network is gone, we're going to not exist anymore. Like, we won't exist. Not that we'll be stuck. Like, when he first started saying it, I thought he was going to say, it'll all be over. We'll be stuck in the mirror universe. But that's not what he said. He's just like, it'll be all over, and we won't exist, and no one will ever know we existed, because no one else will exist.
And not just us, but like all life in every parallel dimension, that's everywhere is going to be gone when this mycelium network dies. And I'm like, well, that's some pretty high stakes there. Well,
now we know their plan's going to work.
Yeah.
Because that would end the show pretty quick.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just didn't, I don't know if I missed something. I know that they had talked about it previously, that it connects life everywhere and stuff like this, but this stakes just kind of came out of nowhere. Like these elevated stakes just kind of appeared, and we're like, oh, okay. So
yeah, when they said it connects life, I took it as like the interstate highway, not like, your nervous system.
Right.
Mm. But a nervous system would describe it more better, since it's a little bit more.
Now it would, yeah.
Yeah, well, now that we've seen it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they have to destroy this source that's in this ship, and again, a few things that happened that were just surprising. Like when Discovery comes in there, like Discovery flies right through the center of that thing.
Yeah. Wasn't that a little weird? Was I the only one who thought that was kind of odd?
I thought. Yeah,
I'm like, you're flying
too.
through a ball of fire that just disintegrated a person.
Yeah. and yeah, I don't know. They were like, well, maybe we could sit on the leading edge, and then all of a sudden they're flying through the middle, and I'm like, okay. I mean.
So, as I said at the beginning, there's a few things in here that I kind of like did the dog and turned my head and went, like did the sideways dog head thing.
Well, the thing that really bothered me about that scene when they went through the whatever core, whatever energy source, was the Discovery, for being a ship at war, they didn't have enough firepower to at least destroy that thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're a ship at war. Wouldn't you have enough armaments?
But they weren't really well, I guess they were involved in the war because they were jumping in and out.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, if this happened like episode 1, I could see why that wouldn't be, because they were still just a science vessel, right? They were still trying to figure out the spore drive. But now they were making jumps and fighting Klingons.
It's like they don't shoot torpedoes. They just shoot phase cannons, and that's all they do.
Just little ones. Little torpedoes.
Maybe. I don't know.
Big torpedoes don't spin around in circles very well, so they had to get rid of those. Okay,
so then they get back. I wasn't expecting them to get back this soon. There was so much in this episode that I wasn't expecting to happen at this time, and that is something that's happened a lot in this show. Like the speed at which it's going, they've got a lot going on, and I've said it multiple times. I'm used to shows like Walking Dead where they'll like sit around and talk for the whole episode, and or they'll be walking on the train tracks for a whole episode or something like that. So I was surprised that the Charon was destroyed. I'm surprised that the mirror universe is basically tied up. They are back home, and they're 9 months in the future.
Yeah.
See, that confused me too, because he said we overshot by 9 months. I thought he went backwards, by the way.
And
then obviously,
go ahead.
Obviously, when they explain the war map, obviously they went forward. But
How can they get that war map? So they're not talking with Starfleet. They're like, update my war map. Who are they updating it from? Where are they getting this information?
The World Wide Web, the Universal
It's
Wide
like
Web.
Apple, man. I mean, you have to
they
go
just connect
into
to everything.
You have to go in there, and it updates as you go. I mean, maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but
So
I do want to
like the Qo'noS Qloud,
right?
Yes. Well, I do want to comment. It's like I'm so glad that they went into the future because I was wondering what they were going to do about the Klingon War. I mean, were they going to do like all these battles and everything, and basically go through war and everything? But I love that they went 9 months into the future. And FYI, I'm a map person. I really love maps, and I just. I got giddy watching that thing update as the battles like progressed and whatnot, and I absolutely love that. That was probably my favorite part out of the whole entire episode was watching that thing update.
So it's suddenly a time traveling network as well, and they're 9 months in the future, and the Klingons. Well, they say they have won the war. Like that's the last line. It looks like the Klingons have won the war.
Right, and then we watch the map turn red and red and red.
Right, So we got a lot of craziness going on, leading us to the next episode. So, what else do we got to talk about on that stuff there before we?
I don't know.
What do you guys think?
We didn't talk about it, but I like the way they showed Stamets going through the network.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it looked like he was like an anchor or something like that, and like he like knew exactly. Well, obviously the path through the forest. I mean, it was all white and
right.
Yeah,
well, I love that
the
throwback to that line. Like that at the time it didn't really make sense to us,
right?
But now it makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah, and I love that they did that. I mean, at least something like that wasn't like a cop out and just say, "Oh, this is a phrase we're gonna just put in here," and it makes so much more sense that it's it's true. I mean, it's a clearing through the forest, and obviously, maybe a nervous clearing through. I don't know, clearing through a nervous system, but I guess the more simplified version of that would be a clearing in the forest, like a path or something.
Right, and then they went back to the scene with Kluber where he's like, "Open your eyes," and that's when he calmed down and
saw the path.
He was able to take them through. I thought that whole scene was really well done. I thought it was just the seeing how he was going, actually piloting through,
right,
was awesome. I thought everything about that scene was great.
Like the only thing I was thinking about with that scene was that I felt like he was the anchor, like one of those like a circular like jigsaw a puzzle where you have to move the piece through the whole entire thing and try to get out or sort of thing. I was just thinking about. Sorry, I just did an escape room yesterday, so that's what I was thinking of. It's fresh in my mind. So, but yeah,
I'm going to point out and say something here that I didn't know what it meant, but I'm going to call for people who've listened along. Back when we did our episode on the mid-season finale, I said, I think that what Stamets just said, there's a clearing in the trees. I'm like, I think that is like the most important thing in the entire series. And I called that back. That I didn't know what it meant. I could have no way. There's no way I could have predicted that it would have anything to do with this. But I will point out that I did call that. I'm like, that's probably the most important line in the entire series.
I'll give it to you.
So,
I'll give it to you.
Do you remember that?
I actually don't remember. But I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Okay,
good call.
I'm fine.
But,
excellent. Well, okay, so I guess we can move on to our final thoughts and predictions for the episode, unless there's anything else that you want to talk to that I've missed. I'm sure there's probably a few plot points that I've missed because there was a heck of a lot. This is a meaty episode. Like there was so much Kelpian meat on this dish here of this episode. I just couldn't eat enough Kelpian.
That the meat was so tenderized and soft that we could.
Okay, so then Patrick, what do you think? Let's give us some predictions here.
Even after talking about it and realizing I was more confused than I thought I was, I still really love the episode. I love the way the episode progressed and the storyline. As far as like a prediction, we're now 9 months in the future, but I don't think we're going to stay there either, which is a little weird. Because I think we're going to have to go back to fight the war again, not move the war from here on. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think we're going to end up back at some point at the time where we left, like basically the moment where we left.
Yeah. Somehow you'll go back in time.
Yeah.
Richard?
I think we're going to keep on going. I really think that we're going to see the real ending of the war and in this season, and then we'll get to season 2 for like whatever exploration is left, or what will start it. I'm really excited about everything that's going to happen after this now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm tired of predicting because I've been wrong forever. I still think we're going to see the tardigrade again, but what do I know? Every prediction I made last week is wrong, so who knows? I don't even know anymore. I'm just going to go with the flow. Although I do have a really big question. Just because it was so blatant, what is up with that green spore that landed on Tilly's shoulder?
No idea.
No idea either. I have a funny feeling that it has something to do with, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe we'll.
It has something to do with I don't know.
It has something to do with I don't know.
And he's right.
What the hell is this trial by fire? Richard beat bash? What? No, I thought the same thing. I was like, what the heck? No, sort of thing. But I guess we'll see.
They definitely zoomed in on it way too long for it to mean nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And they gave no hint as to what that something is.
It's not like she's like that really important to the network. I mean, it's all been Stamets this whole entire time. Yeah, I don't know. It's very intriguing. So I guess we'll find out hopefully soon enough.
Excellent. Right on. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I think it was a fun discussion on the episode What's Past Is Prologue. We've only got 2 episodes left until our 10-year break. At least I'm sure that's what it's going to feel like when it's done. Patrick, why don't you tell everybody what your podcast, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you when you're not tenderizing Kelpians?
They can find me in the Babel Conference. I'm always hanging around there. They can find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5, one word. The 5 is a number. They can also find me as a co-host with you, Brandon, on Warp 5 and as a co-host on the Briar Patch. Not to split hairs, Richard, but I had to say the name.
In the Briar Patch. Richard, where can people find you when you're not going to be doing a very rapid Next Generation rewatch so you can get your timelines right?
Well, while I'm splitting hairs, they can actually find me on Earl Grey. I dedicate a podcast to the Next Generation where Amy, Justin, and I talk about everything TNG. But they could also find me on Facebook. I pop in here and there on the Babel Conference. And I'm on Twitter. My handle is xransom.
Excellent. Right on. Well, talking about What's Past Is Prologue is not the only thing we've been doing here on the network. So take a listen to this clip and see what else we may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM.
Previously on Trek.fm, The Ready Room.
There's no one else in the scene. And Marino was talking, it's like, we couldn't even get like 5 or 6 extras. They were siphoning all of our extras money was going to DS9 to put more aliens on the promenade. Now,
yeah, all those extras were hanging out at Quark's.
It's right.
Because they knew, don't go to a Hutch Hutchinson party.
Stage 9, a podcast about the people who make Star Trek.
When I was a projectionist, I literally had a masking taped X on the bottom of my seat. And then when the seats were taken out and replaced with, new and improved seats, I was like, can I get that seat right there? So I do now have that seat in my living room right over there.
You live with a very patient woman, Mike.
Warp 5.
So I'm guessing that a lot of the interactions were probably about 50% fact and 50% dramatic license. So
okay, hold on a second. Are you telling me Hollywood's not reliable? You telling me I can't believe Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is not real?
Brandon.
Really? That's where we go?
Brandon, we need to have a talk right now.
Primitive Culture, a look at history and culture through Star Trek.
So that idea of nostalgia is very much describing people in the same situation as the Voyager crew. They're far away from home, they're wanting to get home. It's that kind of homesick longing. But maybe that's one reason that we see this kind of transition from, in the early seasons, this nostalgia for this kind of idealised Earth that may or may not really exist anymore, to in the later seasons, the nostalgia is for the journey itself.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
So check out these shows and join in on the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're an Apple user, please be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave us a star rating and a written review. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, in most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 from our website or grab the RSS link as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many ways for you to do that. The best place to join in the larger conversation is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the search field on Facebook, and it should come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select the Edge. That will come right to us. You can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon-Shea. I poke my head up every once in a while in the Babel Conference. And you can find me podcasting with Patrick and Brandy over on a show called Warp 5, which is our Star Trek Enterprise podcast. And you can find me over on the Fandom Podcast Network with a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast with my friends, Chris and Tom. And that's a lot of fun. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/TrekFM. That's patreon.com/TrekFM to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and more, available through our special patrons website, Patron Zone. It requires a great deal of money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month, and we really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM. And at this time, I'd like to take a second to thank all of our wonderful patrons here on The Edge. We couldn't do it without you guys. We really appreciate it. We have the wonderful Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, and Cornelia Reitner. Thank you so much for your support of The Edge and Trek FM in general. Well, that's all we've got for you this week, so don't forget to tune in next week to find out what we've been doing on the edge of Federation space.